This is Steve Zeltzer with Workweek, and on tonight's program, we're going to be talking about the whole issue of AI and the future of workers, particularly Teamsters and other workers, as well as the issue of democracy. And the reason that we are connecting these two issues is they're both actually existential for working people. If we don't have democracy in our union to discuss and debate our issues in a democratic way, we're not going to be able to confront attacks that we face, uh, including artificial intelligence. And what we can see today is that every worker, not just in the Teamsters, but in this country, is threatened. Their jobs are threatened, their lives are threatened, their future is threatened with the introduction of AI. Because the techno billionaires who run the AI want to use it to get rid of us, all of us. And unless we're organized and educated about how this technology is being introduced, how to defend ourselves, um, we are not going to be able to survive as a working class and certainly as a union. And that is one of the reasons we're having this event. The other issue of democracy, and the issue of democracy is not just an issue for union workers, it's for all workers. And one of the things about the labor movement, unfortunately, is that many unions are top-down corporate. We need a democratic trade union movement where all workers can participate, whatever their points of view. They can have discussion and debate, and they can learn from each other. And really, that's what we have to do. Working people have to learn from each other, have to have a democratic structure that allows us to communicate and build solidarity. And this is why we are having this meeting tonight and to discuss these issues. We're also trying to reach out to those government officials who are responsible for enforcing the law, because I think some of the members here, the Teamsters, are going to raise the issue of accountability and the expectation and the demand that our unions be run democratically and there not be flagrant violations of our bylaws and our rules to prevent democracy. So I'm with Workweek and the Labor Video Project on Pacifica Network, and I produce labor video documentaries and labor radio show and TV show, and I've been a producer for many, many years for working people. In fact, I've been fighting for a labor channel. We need a national labor channel in this country so that working people can learn about the struggles that they're in, every union, every industry. So I first want to introduce our first speaker, Rosemary Staronsky, also known to other Teamsters as the tug and the singing tug driver, is a proud 25-year Teamster of Local 63 and has spent her career fighting tirelessly for rank and file members on the shop floor in union elections and for strong contract language. She has a great passion for the Teamsters and wants every member to proudly say that they are proud to be a Teamster. Welcome, Rosemary.
Good evening. My name is Rosemary Stedronsky, and I am a proud member, proud Teamster member with 25 years of dedicated service. Throughout my career, I have been committed to fighting for the rights of rank and file members. It is truly an honor to be here today alongside these remarkable Teamsters to explain why we have united in our efforts to combat union corruption and restore integrity, fairness, and honest elections for all members. My involvement in the union elections began in 2010 during the pivotal contest between Dan Kane and Randy Kamak. That experience opened my eyes to the lack of integrity, fairness, and honesty that can threaten the very core of our union elections. My determination to create meaningful change never faltered. In 2013, I made the decision to run for local office, this time as part of the No Healthcare Cut slate. I was proud to stand alongside other dedicated Teamsters who also aspired to bring positive transformation to our local. Over the years, my advocacy extended beyond the local as I continued to push for improvements within the International Brotherhood of Teamsters and our Constitution. I also fought persistently to strengthen contract language for all members in the Western UPS supplement contract. Throughout these efforts, my resolve has remained steadfast, and I am unwavering in my dedication to the Teamster members and the ongoing fight for reform. Today, I am once again running for delegate on the Power for All slate. Right side, right choice on your ballot Local 63. My goal is simple: to ensure fair and honest elections for all members. I firmly believe that every member should have an unwavering faith in our union. Every Teamster should feel pride and have confidence in their leadership and the voting process, whether it be in a local union election, IBT election, or contract votes. The democratic process, as protected by our local bylaws and the IBT Constitution, must be upheld and safeguarded by both our elected leaders and the government officials who oversee it. Many of you are aware that Unilect was not in good standing with the California State Tax Franchise Board for 18 months. This situation casts doubt on the legitimacy of every local and delegate election conducted by them from April 2024 to January 2026. Sadly, the General Counsel and the IBT and Sean O'Brien have dismissed this as an oversight. This is not surprising to those of us here today, especially given that his own Vice President at Large, Chris Griswold, and other officers in Local 986 went 14 years without paying dues and were charged with multiple counts of election fraud. Such blatant disregard for the members and the oath of office by Sean O'Brien raises serious concerns about his ability to lead our great Teamster Union. As we face the rapid advancement of artificial intelligence, it is crucial to ask what actions are being taken at both the local and IBT levels, as well as legislative efforts to address these changes. While we know we cannot stop AI, it is essential to regulate its implementation to prevent the widespread loss of union jobs it threatens. At UPS alone, we are expected to lose another 30,000 hardworking Teamsters this year, following a loss of 20,000 jobs last year. Unfortunately, the threat does not end there. If current plans proceed, as stated by Carol Tomei, we could see up to 100,000 Teamster jobs eliminated by 2030. These are not exaggerations. Tomei has publicly stated these intentions. We, the members, must take a stand and reclaim our union. It is time to educate ourselves, get involved, and demand action. Waiting until tomorrow will be too late. Automation and AI are already threatening jobs across every Teamster industry and craft. We can no longer afford to remain idle. We must hold our Teamsters accountable or vote them out. We are here today to urge all of you to join us in this fight. We cannot succeed alone. The Teamsters have a proud history of standing up to corruption and corporate greed, but regrettably, that same kind of greed has infiltrated our beloved union. The true strength of the Teamsters lies with its members. As members, we are the strongest adversaries these corrupt leaders will ever face. We will not alone allow them to destroy our union without a fight. There are several key actions we ask of you today to support this cause. Number one, if you are a member of Local 63, Local 542, Local 396, or Local 952, we implore you to vote for the delegate slates that support fair elections. Cast your vote for the Power for All slate in Local 63, Members for Members Fearless slate in Local 542, Local 396 Integrity Rank and File slate in Local 396, or the Dump O'Brien slate in Local 952. Together united, we will win. Number two, stay engaged and informed. Do not wait until your job is at risk to become involved. The threat of AI is real and advancing rapidly. Understand how it might affect you and learn what we can do to collectively address it. Number three, attend your membership meetings and actively participate. Challenge your leadership with questions about AI and their strategies to address it. Find out whether your local is taking action and how you can get involved. Educate yourself and the upcoming IBT election. Make plans to attend the Teamster Convention taking place June 14th through the 18th in Las Vegas. Any Teamster can attend. All you need to do is register. Consider going with fellow Teamsters to share the cost. And don't miss this opportunity to witness how the delegates You are electing into office, vote on the constitutional changes, and nominate the future of the IBT Executive Board. Follow the Fearless Slate online at befearless.org and on Facebook. I will be putting all necessary links in the chat. For some members, today marks the beginning of this fight. For others, it is the continuation of a long-standing struggle. On behalf of the Power for All Slate, we pledge never to stop until every member has access to fair, honest elections and leadership that is free from corruption and truly advocates for every rank and file member. Solidarity.
Thank you, Rosemary. And I want to say that we're having this event, this panel on Women's Day, International Working Class Women's Day. And it's women that lift this country and lift this world. And it's interesting in the struggle of workers in this country, women are playing a leading role in defending workers. The activists, many of the activists are women organizing in the working class. That's a great thing to see. And they are a very powerful force. And I'm glad we're having this event actually on Women's Day. We need a women's movement. And the men need to take up with women the struggle for equality, justice for all. One of the things that we talked about earlier is AI, and the strike that I covered of the SAG-AFTRA and writers was, for many of the members who I interviewed, says an existential crisis of AI. And this existential crisis is something that cannot be solved just by one company, by one union and one industry. It requires all workers together. So our next speaker that is joining us is Michael Sparks. He's a rank and file member of Teamsters Local 399 of the Motion Picture Teamsters out of Hollywood, California. Welcome, Michael.
I'd like to thank you for providing us a platform to speak about not only AI, but the democratic process in our election system of the Teamsters. Because unfortunately, right now, on the West Coast, in the 2025 election process, we've discovered that the company that was hired to do our election, Unilect, was not even qualified to be operating and doing business in the state of California since April of 2024. When this coalition reached out to me and invited me to come discuss the election process that I experienced and that they also experienced, there was a lot of inconsistencies. From see-through secret ballot envelopes that the members could put up to the light and see how a member voted, to members reaching out to the election company that never received their ballots after numerous calls trying to get a ballot sent to them. The PO boxes that were provided by the local unions to hold the ballots once the members return them in the mail, the union in some cases had access to those PO boxes, and the election company was not the only one that was able to access those. After deliberating with this coalition, we started to do an investigation into Unilect ourselves, and we found a lot of inconsistencies. Let's start with the addresses that are listed on Google for this company. After a simple internet search, there's about 4 addresses that come up, and not one of those addresses was a legitimate brick and mortar building that Unilect was currently occupying at that time. And this is a company that is making millions of dollars off of the elections that the Teamsters are running on the West Coast. And you have members of many different locals saying that this election system in 2025 and the upcoming delegate election that is taking place right now should not be overseen by Unilect. Yet it's falling on deaf ears from our locals to our joint councils and to the international itself. You know, I heard a podcast this week where our general president had the head of Joint Council 42 and my very own secretary treasurer on, and they made light of the situation and joked about members calling out corruption within the locals. Well, if you can't even ensure your members that they're getting a fair democratic election being operated and ran by yourself, Joint Council, how can the members have trust in our leadership? And how dare the international general president make light of that situation? That should be a home run for him to say, we will investigate this, we will look into this, and we will take swift action for a company that is not legal to do business in the state of California being paid millions of dollars running our elections for the Teamsters on the West Coast of the United States. Unfortunately, at this time, we've also been reaching out to our Attorney General in the great state of California, Rob Bonta, and our cries and protests have been falling on deaf ears at that juncture too. And you would think in a union that claims it's the most democratic union in the country, we wouldn't have to struggle this hard for fair elections. Steve, what are your thoughts? I mean, do you feel that, what you've seen with the evidence that we've provided to you, that we were provided with fair elections in this process?
Well, my view is that a union, if it's going to hire a company to run an election, that company should be licensed to operate in California.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
like a basic issue. Why would you have a company that's not licensed to operate in California? I mean, if you or I are a plumber or doing electrical work, we'd have to have a license to operate. I mean, for a union election, having a company that has a license is critical. And frankly, I find it problematic, to say the least.
I also feel like these leaders of our local unions, our joint council, and our international leadership itself has forgotten the pledge that they take to the members of the Teamsters across the country and on the West Coast. You are there as our representatives of our membership. We pay your dues and we insist upon a fair and democratic election process, whether that puts you in jeopardy or not. Every union member deserves the right to a democratic election process that is fair and unskewed. And when you have a company that hasn't paid their taxes in, I think, since April of 2024, all the way to the end of 2025, that puts forth the possibility of that company being influenced or possibly being susceptible to influence of a corrupt election system.
Well, you also have to consider so many Teamsters have been denied the right to run an election because they're behind in the dues.
Yes. And we
So, in
found
other
out
words,
just
there's a double
recently.
standard. They're saying Teamsters, union members, have to be up on your dues, and they're very careful to exclude people who get behind. If they're sick, if they're injured on workers' comp, they're behind the dues. They can't run, but a company that can't pay its license fees and be qualified to run a business in California, they're allowed to run an election. It's a double standard, my view, and I agree with you. A company that is in violation of the law in California, that you have to be licensed, should be held accountable. And those elections, in my view, are illegitimate. If you have a
You know,
company
we're
that is not,
asking for a very simple
you know,
thing here. We're asking the attorney general to assign a lead investigator to look into this company. It's not a big ask. The attorney general leans on our membership of the Teamsters every election cycle, but yet when the membership of the Teamsters come to him and say, "Hey, we need your assistance in making sure that our election process was fair," it's falling on deaf ears, and we have not had a single response from him. Even this machine that they're using to count up the ballots is a 25-year-old machine that is easily manipulated by the gentleman that is sitting at the computer. There are a lot of inconsistencies with these election process that Unelect has ran. And, just this week, I heard the general president, the president of Joint Council 42, and my very own secretary treasurer make fun of the fact that the membership doesn't feel that there is not corruption in our local. And for them to take that stance and joke about it on a podcast on social media, it's amazing to me that they've forgotten their oath. And I believe that's what's happened under this O'Brien administration. And, we cannot be prepared for what's coming down against the Teamsters with AI and all of the new technology if we can't guarantee our membership fair representation and fair democratic elections. We have to be very aware of what we're presenting to the companies and to our membership also. They work for us and they need to answer to us.
and a strong membership is critical. If you don't have a strong membership that trusts their union, that believes in their union, and is honest about what's going on in the union. Every union has problems. There's no union that doesn't have problems, but you've got to be honest and you've got to deal with the problems. If you don't, you've got a serious systemic problem. And I think that's what we have in these various locals. This is a historic, this meeting actually, where all these locals are coming together around the issue of AI, around the issue of democracy, membership control, and accountability. That has never happened before in this manner, and I think that that's an important meeting. So our next speaker is Barry Anderson, is a member of Teamsters Local 856. He's an activist and rap artist, and his music plays a big part in his activism, critiquing the social structure and educating the masses on how to organize and bring solutions to the table, exposing corruption. Welcome, Barry.
My name is Barry Anderson out of Sacramento, California. A member of Local 856 out in San Francisco. Originally, I was a member of Local 601, but a couple of years ago, we merged with 856. So like Mrs. Elster said, I'm a rap artist and activist. My music is based on class struggle. I go by Apostle B.A. Abide on various social media platforms, Apple, Spotify, if you're willing to be edified and to enjoy good music, provoking consciousness and class struggle and mass militancy and organizing. I'll be quick. As a Teamster, I'm united with other comrades here, and I've heard about the situation concerning Unilec and certain elections. It's very disappointing to hear that this company was not registered at the time, or did not have a license, rather. So that's very concerning. And there's a question I would ask is, are other locals outside these locals that have been affected, are they doing the same thing? That's a cause for concern. So my concern is that we continue to inform people, educate people, and take this beyond a union election and to make this a class struggle issue. When union workers or just workers, period, are being disrespected by their leadership and not being recognized, that is a major issue when it comes to class. Unfortunately, our labor leaders are cowards and they've sold out to the elite or to our politicians who are doing the bidding of corporations and the elite class. So I'm a radical. I'm here to fight for the struggle when it comes to the working class and the poor masses. And this is bigger than just a union election for me. This is a life. This is life. This is class struggle. I'm also a member of the United Front for Labor Party. Mr. Steven Zeltzer is an elder of mine. We have a close relationship, and I'm here to fight against corruption with various other brothers and sisters in this union struggle. And with that being said, I'm a mute.
Thank you, Brother Barry. So our next speaker is Norman Saceda, a proud 10-year member of Teamsters Local 542. Norman previously served 3 years as a shop steward, where he represented his co-workers, helped enforce the contract, and stood up for the rights of the members on the shop floor. He is also involved in the grassroots movement, Members for Members, a group focused on educating the membership and holding union leadership accountable to the members they serve. Welcome, Norman.
How's it going, Steve?
Good.
All right. So I want to just address, brothers and sisters, our strength as Teamsters has never came from the top. It's always been and always will be from the members. And the strength, in order for it to continue, it lies within the rules that govern our union. They always have to be fair, transparent, and neutral for every member. That's why the conversations about our Teamsters Constitution, that matters. A lot of our members are ignorant to the fact that we even have a constitution, and those are the rules that govern our leaders. And I think that's by design. That's not by an accident. I had to attend numerous general membership meetings in order to understand what the constitution and bylaws were. Instead of the leadership saying, hey, we have constitutions, we have bylaws. And that's because those are the rules that govern our leaders. Those are the rules that they have to follow. Just like we have our collective bargaining agreements when we go to work and how we're held accountable, that's how they're held accountable. So when we look at our Constitution, there's two articles personally that I see that stand out. It's Article 22, and that governs our elections and how they're held. It requires, secret ballots. It allows the local union executive boards to determine the procedures and the voting methods used in those elections. Article 19 governs the trials and appeals for those elections. It establishes how the charges are filed and how disputes within the protests within the union and how they're reviewed. But under the current structure, when charges are filed, they go to the same local union executive board that the charges are against and that the members are running against. And when that same structure controls the initial review and the disputes, many of the members, they don't believe that the process is truly neutral from the beginning. And therein lies the issue within the membership losing faith in the system that they're supposed to have trust in. And that's why members are calling for the constitutional reform to strengthen our Constitution, the Articles 22 specifically and 19, so the elections and the internal process are clearly fair and impartial. Because when members decide to run for office, they should do so knowing that the rules are balanced and equal for everybody. And that's why it matters who we're sending as delegates to the International Brotherhood of Teamsters 2026 convention, because in that convention, that's where the delegates from across the country can propose amendments to the Constitution and fight for reform and give the power back to the members where it belongs. Delegates who will, we need to send delegates who will stand up for fair elections, hold our leadership accountable, and fight for stronger rules that protect our union democracy. And when we send those delegates, we end up giving the power back to the rank and file members. And that matters more now than ever, seeing that we're having this systemic problem with these election issues, across California. And it seems that it's just an issue as a whole within our Teamsters union. And at the same time, we're dealing with other issues across the country. Businesses are already using automation and, artificial intelligence that threaten jobs across the country. So our union must remain strong in its democracy and strong in defending the livelihoods of all the hardworking Teamsters across country. Because at the end of the day, the goal is simple: to have fair rules, to have an equal voice, and put the power back into the members' hands where it belongs. Because strong members build a strong union, and because the rules are fair and the members have the power, the Teamsters become unstoppable. Thank you.
Thank you, Norman. Thank you. Our next speaker is Jennifer Cruz. Jennifer is a member of IBT 2010, UC Davis, and also has been a fighter for health and safety and for injured workers. And I know from my coverage, long coverage of workers in California and in this country, workers are suffering. Workers are getting injured on the job. Workers are getting seriously hurt, and they're terrorized. They're in a battle with the company, and in many cases their own union, to get workers' compensation, to get health care. I mean, I think it's insane, frankly, that workers don't get health care when they're injured on the job. You have to fight for it, and you're harassed and bullied by insurance companies in many cases. I mean, this is a crime against working people. All working people should be entitled to health care, and especially injured workers who are injured on the job and suffer from the conditions and the failure to get representation. So welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you, Steve. I'm going through a very similar struggle right now with my workers' comp claim. There's been a definite culture shift, and a lot of that has to do with leadership. It's kind of a double-edged sword. Most of us are doing all this extra work. You've got one person doing the job of three. So at one point, these automated workflows were a godsend because we've got these piles of work coming, opening up, and it's just a nightmare to try to get it done, much less deal with what gets tossed to you along the way. I think the most important thing that we need to nail down is our contract language. It's really important that we have protections in there for workers who maybe they aren't savvy in tech, and these are just things that are out of their realm. If there is a plan by leadership to eliminate positions or eliminate work that belongs to represented members, they need to, one, provide notice to the union, two, make sure that there is a transition for that person, that there's training, paid on the job training that can take place so that they are educated in this new technology and not just completely alienated by it. There needs to be equity in the training because we all have different skill levels. Some people are really good at everything. Other people can't program their VCR. So we're working with a lot, and it has to start where that person is, or else it's not equitable. And then these inside groups come, and only these people get selected for these new positions. Another thing is with the I lost my train of thought. I apologize. With the contract language, besides the training, there should be a transitional position for them to get into. Maybe something that has to do with making prompts or testing, or being a simulated model in usage and seeing how that works out. There's jobs available, but people don't even know what the jobs are because of how new this technology is. But again, it comes down to contract language and keeping our contracts strong. And the stronger our union, the stronger our contract. When there is just low support, low interest, we just whatever, that is not what's going to get us a guarantee. We need strength at the bargaining table, because I work for UC, but when these guys go up and bargain your contract, their support is what gives it leverage. Their demands mean nothing if there aren't members behind it, advocating, being interested, taking interest in everything. And to speak on what everybody's been talking about with the elections and whatnot, I'm going to try to share my screen here. The thing that was disturbing to me was the whole setup of this. It was a ballot counter. It was not great. Can you guys see that okay?
No.
Oh, man.
You got to request to share.
Well, I'll just proceed without it because I don't want to take up too much time. But
I allowed you to share, so you can if you want to do it. Let's see.
It's okay. I don't need it. We had what we had was a ballot counting machine. It was connected to 2 different laptops, a printer. There was some kind of mystery box in the middle that we don't know what that was for. And then there was a we're thinking it's a data interpretation monitoring device, like a man in the middle type of thing to run reports and what have you. Now, in and of itself, that's not terrible. But when you have someone actively typing into their computer throughout the tabulation process, when you have family members who are all in this tight-knit little company with no storefront and a break of chain of custody with the mail mystery ballots popping up that are being filled out by the company owners, changing what was put on the ballots from the member who mailed it in. It all adds up to just craziness. The vendor familiarity, they use Unilect for everything. They know each other. They're friends. They talk, they're friends. It's just a lot of really, I'm not going to say intent is here or that any wrongdoing. I'm not going to make those accusations, but a reasonable, fair election is what we're promised. And there's some, things that leave much to the imagination. So it's loss of confidence, if anything, in our leadership. It's disheartening that this isn't being taken serious, that the suspension, you're not allowed to do business in California. You cannot enter into a contract if you're under FTB suspension. These things don't matter, I guess, to anybody but us. A contract, what is a contract? That is when the certification of election. How can they certify an election if they can't enter into contract? Because that is basically a contract stating these are the results. This is our name. This is what we say happened. These are the numbers. But if they can't legally enter into a contract, what is that? It's nothing. It's just like numbers on a paper. They used it's called an MP1, or excuse me, an MP1000, and it's an optical scanner. These scanners are known to skip ballots. They're known to be able to be programmed to only read portions of things. So if there's graphics or a border or whatever, it can be programmed to not look at the background or in images and border. That can also go for our ballot, which was set up in halves, two halves. One side was member slate, one side was team unity. So if you told the computer to only look at this half of the ballot, that's what it's going to do. The way the configuration with the parameters that are set in that ballot counter, that should have been already done before they even got there. Why this the whole time? We need to, again, strengthen numbers, be interested, join in on our roundtables, stay aware of what's going on. I can't stress this enough. If everybody's sleeping on these things, they're going to push them in regardless. So at least have a say, at least have your voice heard. And that's what we're here to do today. And I want to thank everybody for your time.
Thank you. And I covered the election in 2010. One of the things I found very interesting is they said that cameras were banned, no pictures and no video. Now, I've covered many union elections over years, over decades. I've never been told I can't take pictures. I can't take video. Why? If an election is fair and democratic, you should be able to take pictures. Everyone
That's
should be
a
able to
very
take
good
pictures.
point, Steve. That's a very good point.
And that fear. I mean, they were actually afraid of the camera.
Yes.
Why
And
would you be afraid of the camera? I mean,
if you have a
if
truly
you have nothing to
transparent,
hide, I
yeah,
think that raises a serious question: transparency, and apparently they didn't want what was happening in the election to be out in public. I mean, and we talk about elections. Elections should be democratic and fair, and all the members should be able to see the election. What is the secrecy about? What is that all about? And I think that's something that I was concerned about. In fact, I was threatened, get off the property, don't take pictures. I mean, what is this? A secret election? I mean, this is, and even the members of 2010 weren't able to take pictures. But I understand the president, executive director was taking pictures. So it's a problem. Michael, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I think what you highlighted on there was interesting too, that some locals said they were able to film inside of the ballot counting room. And then I heard, my personal experience was there was no filming and inside the ballot counting room. Yet the chain of custody, once the anonymous envelopes were open and all the ballots were exposed, there was no chain of custody. They were not secured. People were walking by the open ballots. One of the members of Unilect actually walked out of the room with a bag and re-entered the room with a backpack on. The chain of custody has been not only broken by Unilect, the company that we hired to do our elections, but they're not even honoring, the security of the election process. So, it's just amazing to me that our representatives that we elect and are there at the behest of the membership can't even provide an honest and secure election. Not only that, but hiring a company that's not legal to do business, that's beyond reproach. That should be the first thing they look into when they hire an election company is this company reputable? Is it legal to do business in the state of California? I don't care if you've used a company for 30 years. If they're not legal to do business in the state of California, they shouldn't have been hired in the first place. And every election that they have ran since April of 2024 should be voided and reran. And that's, my piece on that.
I also have to say that Bob Bonsall, the lawyer for 2010, told me that I was not allowed to take pictures. And I questioned a lawyer for the law firm telling me what the rules are. I looked up the rules, and a paper was given to the members of 2010 who were there to observe the election. There was nothing about no pictures being allowed. I looked up the international rules from the international website. There was no information about not having pictures allowed. So who made this rule? question.
You know, for our general president to go on social media this week and joke about even the allegation of a corrupt elections process, that should not be a joking matter. And for them to make this statement that, he's running on that there's corruption in the local. Well, obviously, you hired a company that's not legal to do business. That is a form of corruption right there. That company could be influenced or purchased to present a result of the election in one way or another because they are in financial distress and are unable to pay their tax bills in the state of California.
Exactly.
And Jennifer, and then we'll go to our next speaker.
I also wanted to bring into, the discussion about, yes, it's in the, I believe, the Constitution or the election rules for the paper ballots. But the cost of the paper ballots is ridiculous. We have a 25,000 membership with the CX unit, just us. So if you mailed 25,000 ballots, it comes out to about 93.5 cents per returned ballot. Then you have the fees associated with it. Like just the postage alone is about $19,000 for the returns. So if you have 70% turnout, a 50% turnout, whatever your turnout may be, that just the postage costs more than a electronic election online or where you can cast your vote like that. And that's before printing. We're talking ballots, envelopes, return envelopes, exterior envelopes. We're going up. And then there's the operating fees associated with that. So like one election can cost an upwards of like $100,000. Whereas if you have a like associate voting, they publicly list per election, it's $299 for 501 to 5,000 members. So multiply that times 5. And let's say 300 times 5, that's, $15,000 for those elections. It's exponentially lower. These are our dues, and we're doing this old process that has since, become much more streamlined, more transparency. You can't, switch ballots around and have transparent envelopes and that kind of stuff. It's more secure. I don't understand why that's not being looked at, because we are just bleeding money for outdated, unreliable systems, which is kind of silly to me.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. So our next speaker is Quan Zing. She was a member of IBT 2010. She's an IT from UC Davis and has been studying the effect of AI. And I want to add before you start, Quan, that all their UC workers now, AFSCME, UAW, and the Teamsters are all facing the issue of AI.
Yeah.
They're all facing it. Yet the unions have not had any education campaign that I can see, not only for their members to bring them together, but to make this a political issue. The people who run the University of California, the regents, are multimillionaires and billionaires.
Yeah.
They are controlled by these tech companies. In fact, Governor Newsom has ordered the CSU to use AI in the institution without any oversight. So these AI companies are taking over the university. And what are they taking it over for? To get rid of workers. He also is doing this at community college. So this is a question for education workers, particularly, that they have to educate themselves and they have to unify and begin to confront what is a threat to their very existence. So welcome, Quan.
Yeah, your questions can be answered in this article, and I already copied the link into our chatting window, so you can take a look at that. This is the most significant blog that we recently, being published, and then there is a big impact for this article for the whole IT industry. And then I think it would answer most of your questions. And then if any of the members join the meeting today, if you're interested in it, just take a look at this. So let me just kind of summarize it, what it does. Okay, so this is an article, it's a blog that written by an IT. His name is Matt Schumer, who is a very famous, AI developer. And he himself gets scared recently, and that's why he wrote this. And then what it happens, he says, I'm no longer needed for the actual tech work of my job. Even IT has the fear to lose their jobs now. Not only any the white collar job type of workers, even the developers is fearing the situation because it's kind of reaching the point that lose control. So what is happening? It opens the app. If you install it in your computer, configure certain level of access for AI, and it can initiate the work by itself. So people would say, "Oh, we use AI, but it wasn't that good." That's because maybe in general people are not using the best version currently. So people using like free ChatGPT or something, trying to just use it to modify their Word document or come up some letters or articles. That's just entry level of chat AI. What it does right now, I just read some other IT posts that about what's called have you heard of open claw? If you install it in your Mac, and then it operates like a human being, it can do all the job. Like Mariana, what you do daily, you do the I remember you do the you have the work list, right? You resolve those stuff, the patient studies.
Yes.
That can be done by AI if they install it. So when people are talking about cloud, why using cloud? That's the data center, right? The VNA, vendor neutralized archive center, all cloud centers. They actually have the infrastructure ready for AI. That's what's happening. So all the data informations can be centralized, and then all can be controlled by AI. I would encourage you to read this article. I copied the link to you, and how fast this is actually moving.
This is an emergency situation, is what you're saying.
Yes. Yes. That's why recently I really have a very heavy heart.
That's right. And I think for all workers in this country, and we had a conference in Los Angeles that a number of you attended, of writers, of journalists, of Teamsters. All workers are being affected. And if we're going to confront this, we have to confront it united, all working people. It's not one company, it's not just one union. And I think the problem with our structure, business union structure, every union is doing their own separate thing. They're in a silo. And you can't fight a system change, is what we face. A change of the system that will eliminate, for example, Goldman Sachs did a study and said 350 million workers may be eliminated, will be eliminated from AI.
Yeah.
That is a threat to our existence.
Yeah, even the truck drivers.
Truck drivers, autonomous trucks. And there was a rally that I covered last week in San Francisco of Waymos.
Because Tesla is converting all those electric car to be a computer
And we have
workstation. It's like
exactly.
moving workstations.
And trucks, they want to bring in automated trucks. We need to rally all of labor, all working people, to demand that technology should benefit working people. It shouldn't benefit the billionaires. And the way we're set up now is that technology is aimed at getting rid of working people, not protecting us. At this rally in San Francisco at City Hall, they were saying Waymo's off the street. 600,000 drivers in California could lose their jobs with these vehicles. Where are these workers going to go? I mean,
Yeah.
it should be a shorter work week. To say that workers have a shorter work week, we need to protect the working people of this country, critical of California. Otherwise, we will be wiped out, and that's what we're facing, and that's why it's an issue for the Teamsters. It's an issue for the CWA, for AFSCME, all unions, and yet there isn't this urgency. There isn't coming together of all workers, and that's, I think, what we need to push for in the labor movement. Michael?
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve, I would like to personally thank you because I attended the conference in Long Beach on AI, and it really opened my eyes what's in store for our brothers and sisters in the Teamsters, especially the rank and file Class A, Class B truck drivers, what could be coming down the pipe with automation. And unfortunately, I feel like we're being lied to when it comes to our leadership about how they're taking a stand against AI, and in particular that bill that was passed in Sacramento where drivers did not have to be present in the vehicles. I believe it was a year and a half to 2 years ago now at this time. The general president of the Teamster said in his statement to members across the United States that they took care of that. Well, they did not take care of that. It was passed that automated trucks were legal to start driving on the roads. And, I agree with you, Steve. We need to take a united stand, not just as labor, truck drivers. I think all of the working class, blue collar members of unions, and even white collar members like you're referring to that are now saying their job is in jeopardy from AI. This technology does not discriminate whether you're a doctor, a dentist, a truck driver, a plumber. It doesn't discriminate against putting you out of work. And I believe you're right, Steve, that right now the way the implementation of AI coming out in the public sector is that the 1% or the billionaire class, the uber wealthy, will benefit financially from the release of AI into the public sector, and the rest of us are going to be left at the starting line with no job, no income. And we have to be prepared for that. We have to unite against that. We have to say that we are more valuable as a workforce than a computer that is going to put us out of work. And the human element of these jobs is the most important element of these jobs on all fronts. A doctor in the operating room, a truck driver sitting in the seat on our American highways, across the board, the human element is the most important element in the United States and around the world. If we lose that, I don't think we're ever going to be able to turn back the clock.
I agree.
Yeah.
Humans over machines.
And
Exactly.
let me give you a second article that I want to share with everyone. Okay, this is not a report. It's just an estimation from a financial research institute. It's called Sydney Research. And when this is published last week, it brings down Dow Jones 400 because it predicts what's going to happen when human beings lose their job and being replaced by AI permanently. And then in this article, it creates a new definition called ghost GDP. ghost GDP. So why? Let me explain to you. So what happens is looks like AI replaces the human being's work. It improves the efficiency, and then bring down the costs, and then looks like the company gain. The company gain. But the problem is when people lose job, you lose the shopping power, because the market lose the people that buying. And then AI is doing the work, right? AI improves the productivity, but AI is not doing any shopping. They're not expanding. So what's going to happen? Just read this article. It tells you the whole economy is going to be ends up in a it's going to crack. It's going to crash. Because you lose the power of I don't know how to explain this, but you read this article, it will give you idea. It will bring down the whole economy.
Again, this is a life and death question for working people, all working people. Actually, not just in this country, but around the world. But
Yeah,
if we
the whole
can't
world.
confront it, if we can't confront it, if we can't discuss and learn about it and educate ourselves, we'll be destroyed. We'll be destroyed.
Mariana, remember that last year, that was like a half a year ago, I talked to this, to Mariana. And this article just supported my theory, supported me. Because I told Mariana like long time ago, I said, if people lose job, we're losing human being. The population is going down. Because
It
people,
requires a major.
they lose their living. They lose their living. They don't have money to buy food.
That's right. Dr.
No
West?
health insurance. No health insurance. The hospitals, the healthcare system is crashing too.
Well, I interviewed Dr. West. I interviewed a social worker, a healthcare social worker at Kaiser, and they're using chat boxes instead of social workers in mental health. Chat boxes. You talk to a chat box to find out about your condition, and to get rid of social workers and mental health, and also they're laying off nurses and replacing them with chat boxes. This is a dire situation for working people when they're going to get rid of workers to replace them with chat boxes. And it's a dangerous thing, but they're doing it for money. These companies, Kaiser and others, want to make more.
This is the funny thing. This is ironically at the end, those companies also crashing because nobody buying products from them.
Exactly. Well, the way the system operates, each company only cares about how much profit they can make, their own company. They don't see it as a system problem. If all these companies do it, it crashes the system.
Yeah,
because people can't afford products. Exactly. Yeah. Dr. West?
I find this discussion very interesting, and it mimics a lot of discussions that I'm in with professionals. And I've wondered for a while, I think sometimes people think that doctors are in a safer spot or something like that, but actually we're in quite a precarious spot because any healthcare service that you receive is kind of indirectly approved by Congress. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So what happens is procedures, any care that you receive is decided whether it will or would not be covered by Medicare, Medicaid. And that's decided by Congress. Once that's decided, then our insurance companies mimic those exact same standards. And so I keep hearing in these meetings what AI is capable of, and I believe that AI is very capable of mimicking a doctor. I won't say it's as good. I don't at all believe it's as good. And actually, none of the studies that we're seeing as doctors, as we do the research on this, show that it's as good. It's actually pretty scarily bad at times. but it could mimic it, I think, enough, especially as the public's already primed to rely on technology so much with like this chat GPT and all these services that people are used to using. And to some degree, people like getting online, getting their own healthcare, and like in omitting the doctor, the public's kind of been primed for that already. But anyways, it would just take Congress to approve it. And so then I was kind of coming down to, well, why haven't they gone ahead and just said that people have to use an AI primary care doctor? Why have they not just gone ahead? Because it seems like something they could pretty easily put through Congress with it being one-sided right now. And then I was talking to another professional that's more like in the tech department, and or more in the tech field, and he told me everything that you hear that's coming, because sometimes we almost get dulled into thinking that like, well, we keep hearing AI can do this or that, but it's not, we're not seeing it implemented. A huge obstacle to these things not being implemented, like right now, is that they don't have enough of these AI database power banks that you're seeing them build. As they get those, then they can hit the switch on any of this stuff overnight. They can hit this, and healthcare is too big. They need too many. If everyone was forced to use it strictly for healthcare right now, it would just crash the system. So that's why that hasn't happened yet. Now you will see, like you were saying, this being piecemealed off. Psych has always been an area that they picked at because it's, people can debate. People do debate whether it's necessary or not. I'm not saying that I advocate for that, but you'll see it being chipped away. But I promise you that the billionaires will always have human doctors taking care of them.
Yeah.
I promise you they will.
And
because they see the results of these studies and they're not good.
You see, there's another thing that when people lose job, the government also lose the income tax from the workers. And so what's happening, those AI, they don't pay extra tax, right? Those capitalism lists, those big companies, do they pay extra tax? So at the end, the welfare will also will be cut.
That's right. Well, if you look at
the whole system is crashing.
Yeah, if you look at UPS, there's a whole debate in the Teamsters now about the UPS offering buyouts to the workers. And the Teamsters went to court and said, you can't do this. You can't do this. Well, the court ruled that they can do it. So what does that mean? It means they pay off Teamsters who have a lot of time in, who are high paid Teamsters, and they get rid of these Teamsters, buy them out, and that means that you're undermining your entire pension system. If they get rid of 20, 30,000 Teamsters this year, the pension system of all Teamsters is going to be undermined. The UPS Teamsters pension system could go bankrupt. So this issue of protecting jobs is not only protecting it for the present workers, it's protecting the workers who are already there, who are in the system, because they're not going to have pensions. This is, again, an existential question. So our last speaker is Mariana Baptista. She's a community and labor activist representing her coworkers for the past 39 years. She's been a UC employee 20 years, a Teamster for 16 years, and with UFCW for 38 years. And she is at UC Davis. Welcome.
I want to thank you guys for all being here because it shows that you actually care. You're taking the opportunity to take time out of your time to educate yourself on the issues that we're speaking about tonight. I'm going to just reiterate some of the things that we've already spoken on. We have an issue with our leadership. Not only the leadership of our local unions, but the leadership of our international, our joint councils, and statewide leaders that represent us legislatively. The complacency that we are finding with the issues with our local elections is it's unacceptable. Why is it unacceptable? Because they are actually condoning breaking the law. Not only are they breaking the law, they are not upholding their Constitution oath that they've taken to represent the people that they are that voted for them to put them in their positions. What is that telling us? That they're not going to uphold our state, our local, and our federal laws to protect us? To take away our democracy?
Something seriously wrong.
Our voting rights? That's democracy. That's your voice. And that's where your power comes in, through your voice. They're trying to silence us by manipulating our elections. To have the general president mocking the situation in the state of California and probably other states as well. That's embarrassing. Very embarrassing. And it's not okay. Excuse me. Alexa started talking. Sorry, you guys. Anyhow, getting back to the whole reason why we're here tonight is we started a coalition, union workers fighting corruption. And that's corruption in every area. Every area. Our elections, what's going on within the running of our locals, what's going on with the running of our joint councils, what's going on the running of our international. People, members of their unions have become complacent. They have leaned on the leadership to handle the business, and that's the problem. We need to come together and start educating our brothers and our sisters in the workplace. We need to encourage them to start to get involved in what's going on. Show up to your membership meetings. Question what the expenses are going, what they're doing with their money. You have a right to know that. You have a right to know any operations that's happening within your union. You should never, ever fall upon deaf ears, and no ear should turn away from you. And when you have the leaders of your union doing that, there's a big problem. And behind that problem, the equation equals out to corruption, the bottom line. And I'm just going to go straight there because that's what it is. If it looks like a dog, it barks like a dog, it acts like a dog, then it's a dog. If it looks like corruption, it smells like corruption, you're witnessing it, it's corruption. And the only way we can fix that is to stand up because our union is the members. We are the union, not the leadership that's leading us. And we have got to wake up and we've got to figure out what's going on because guess what? As you heard, AI is coming and it's coming rapidly. And I work in the hospital and I can tell you that when you call to make an appointment to see your doctor, you're not talking to a person. You're talking to an automation. If you call to pay a bill, you're not talking to a person. You're talking to automation. Even when you go through a fast food drive-through, they have automation at the fast food drive-throughs. It's coming. And we need to be prepared. What people don't realize is it is that us, the working people, the blue collared people, the middle class people, is what keeps this economy going. We start to lose our jobs, as Quan and so many others have already spoken about. How does this economy keep going without us? How do we survive if we don't start waking up and paying attention? This is an emergency matter, and we need to bring our unions together, and we need to face this head on. And we also need to get rid of the leadership that is not looking out for us or are not in our best interest. And the only way we can do that is through the process of the democracy to having fair elections. And election companies that have the authority to certify an election. Now, I've invited Doris Matsui, Congresswoman Doris Matsui. I've invited the governor, Gavin Newsom. I've invited Rob Bonta, our Attorney General. I've invited Lorena Gonzalez, the head of Federation of Joint Council. And do you see any of them here tonight? Each one of them had something else that was more important than us. Yet, though, when it's time for their election time, they're looking to us to support them with our votes. Yet, when we're asking them for help, that our votes are being thrown to the wayside and members are being tossed to the wayside, members have been abused, bullied, harassed, exiled from their membership. They don't want to stand up. Why? Because they've taken money from the Teamsters. And the money's more important than their constituents. That's a big problem. And the only way we're going to get to them is to keep pushing like we're pushing tonight. Because guess what? Tomorrow is not promised. Your workplace, your job, your position is not promised. And this is the time that we come together. We have to stand united. We have to keep this fight going in order to protect our positions in the workplace. Not only for us, but for the generations that follow behind us. Otherwise, we will go extinct. Believe me, that will happen. Starvation is for real. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariana. I want to thank you and all of you who are here tonight. I think this is a critical discussion that we've had and reports on what's going on. We need to do this throughout this country. All working people have to be involved in this. And we, I think, are leading the way. I would like to see this kind of event happening in every state, every community, because we're all involved. And I think with the technology, the communication technology, we can use it while we can to educate ourselves, to build solidarity and to build action. Rosemary?
I just wanted to just, if there was anybody that had any questions, just to really quickly put them in the chat really fast so that we can address them, because I don't want anybody in here that's watching to not be able to get their questions answered. But I also wanted to just address the issue with automation and AI at UPS, because it's the labor movement was as Steve would know, the labor movement was really started by the unions years ago. Like the unions fought for a lot of the labor laws that we have today. And the union leadership is failing its members in many different ways, as we've spoken about on here today. And UPS has always been, they are the largest Teamster contract in the United States. And it has always gone as to say that as UPS goes, so goes the union. And I don't want to discredit any other craft. All the other crafts are just as valuable, and all the other Teamsters are just as valuable to the union. But I want to emphasize that everybody needs to understand that automation and AI is coming at a very fast pace to UPS. I've worked at UPS for 25 years, and there's other people on here that are working at UPS, and we see it. There are, to my knowledge, right now there are 4 hubs across the nation that are already using the autonomous drivers for the mule shifters. These are also called yard goats or mules in the yard. And so we already have driverless vehicles shifting our trailers inside of the yard. In my facility at Ontario, in the what we call the WACA building, the West Air Hub of California, and in our Empire Hub, we already have automated bulk carts. At one time, we had combo jobs and part-timers that were driving these bulk carts. That is no longer a thing now. They are being driven by autonomous vehicles, by robots. And so all of those jobs have been replaced by robots. They're starting to bring into the small sorts. They're bringing in their robotic arms, and these arms basically move the packages as what the jobs that the small sort employees would do. So they're slowly bringing in. We already know that they're testing out loaders in trailers. They're robots that can load. They don't load as fast as us, and they can't lift as heavy. But once they start installing them, that automation will go faster because those robots will start learning. And once they learn, they can move faster. And that is the same with the AI camera. I know Steve has talked about the camera before, but one of the big things, that the reason why the company has put those cameras in there isn't just to watch the drivers, it's to learn. Those cameras are they're gleaning information so that they can learn what is the driver doing, how is he moving, how is he going back and sorting his packages, and it's allowing them to learn, to gather information. The more information they gather from the 800 cameras that they have in my hub to the thousands of cameras they have in everybody else's hub, those cameras are gathering information every single day on how to replace our jobs. And this is what we need to be fighting for. We have a contract coming in 2 years. We need to start talking today about contract language that will fight this in 2 years. These contracts can no longer be about money, because money doesn't matter a damn if we don't have a job. It has to be about language, about preservation of our jobs, about language that says that if you put in a robot and it replaces my job, then you have to train me on how to fix that robot, and that becomes my new job. There needs to be language in there for job preservation that trains these employees. I won't be around. I'm old, but there's a lot of younger people in there that need those job preservations. And this is what we need to do. We need to be training the younger generation and having the union prepare them for these jobs and certify the language. And this is what we need to be fighting for, is that job preservation and in our language, not just at UPS, but in grocery, in freight, in the nursing industry, in all the other industries. That language must be fought for. And that is the kind of leadership that we need to step up, that's going to say that we will not let these companies replace our employees. You will train them, you will educate them, and you will fucking pay for it. And this is what needs to happen, because we cannot allow this. We are the ones who established the jobs in this country. We fought for them, and we need to continue the fight. And that's why this is so important. And that's why this coalition has come together. It's not just about fair elections. It's about fighting for every single member and every single working class American.
And that's why there's a movement. There's a movement in this country for a general strike on May Day. The first May Day was actually in Chicago by immigrant workers fighting for an 8-hour day in 1886. Can you imagine that? In 1886, workers were fighting for an 8-hour day, and we still don't have an 8-hour day. Workers have to work 2 or 3 jobs. They're on the cell phone. They never have a moment of peace because they're hooked to their cell phone. This is the world that we live in. And this is from 1886. So I think we need to bring all workers together in this country and around the world. And we have to stand up on May Day. We have to organize for May Day. We're not going to hear that from the union leadership. Brandon Johnson, the head of the mayor of Chicago, called for it after ICE went in. Sarah Nelson, who's president of the airline flight attendants, called for it after they took away bargaining rights, union rights for all federal workers, 700,000 federal workers. Silence from the rest of the labor movement. We cannot be silent. Our lives, our future is on the line. And I think that is really what we're talking about. We're talking about our future, not just workers presently, but if we're going to have a future, working people in this country, in this world. Mariana?
I just wanted to share that at UCLA with the skill trades, they already have the AI cameras in there that are watching what they're doing and taking data at UCLA. At UC Davis, we have robots doing surgeries. Um, it's real. I've seen
Well,
them.
well, when I asked Sean O'Brien at San Francisco State during the IBT 2010 strike at CSU about the cameras, he told me twice there were no cameras at UPS. I was amazed. How can you say there are no cameras at UPS? There are cameras everywhere. Everywhere you turn in this country, there are cameras. How can you make a statement like that? But he also said in Sacramento, when they had the rally for a bill to require a driver if a truck is 10,000 pounds or more, that they stopped AI and they stopped robotics at UPS. He said that in Sacramento. At that time, I said, how can you say a statement like that? How can you stop these companies from bringing in robotics and AI? They are doing it every minute of the day. They're bringing in robotics and AI because they want to get rid of us. They're driven to make more profit by getting rid of workers. This is a issue. As the writers said, it's an existential issue for all of us. And I think the lesson of our panel today and our discussion is we've got to get organizing. We've got to get educating. We don't have a moment to lose. Our future is at stake, really. Our future and our family's future. So I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. We need to continue to educate our fellow workers, our brothers and sisters at UC, at UPS, everywhere. It's not one place, it's everywhere that we have to organize. But the unions have the power. They have the power in this country. The unions have always had the power, and we have to build and strengthen that power. So I want to thank you, brothers and sisters, for joining us. Solidarity, and we will continue this struggle.